Well, let's bring in an investment banker and development economist. He's Dr. Nnaemeka Obiariri. I hope I got that correctly. He's joining us in the studio. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So this particular issue seemed like a very contentious one as at last year. It was one of the biggest things that Nigerians were talking about for months. NGF, especially the Northern Governors Forum, were against it. The president, in his media chat did say, look, there was no going back. But all of a sudden was saying that there is a turnaround and agreement has been reached. What do you make of it?
For me, the tax reform bill by the Taiwo Oyelede Committee is one of the most watershed programs and legislative piece since the advent of this republic. And for the governors, I think they should look, it's good that they've concurred that it should go through. But the sharing formula is something we must consider. Derivatives should be 50%, not population, not any other consideration. And I think the president, in his wisdom, and the team actually wanted derivative to be 50%, and that's how it should be. And if we look back to history, the golden era of Nigeria was between 1960 to 1966. In fact, I was privileged to look through the revenue formula and revenue generation in 1964. And I discovered that at that time, the federal government had about 153 million pounds as revenue. The regions, I think the South, the old Eastern region generated about 10 million pounds. The old Western region about 7.2 million pounds, and then the Midwest, 2.9 million pounds. You could see that each of the regions were very, very productive. They were contributing to the center, not the other way around. And that time we had a fiscal regime, a fiscal program that allowed the constituent units to control 50% of whatever they produced, pay 30 to the central port, the quality, and then 20 to the federal government. And the exclusive list then was limited to external relationship and external security. And there was incentive for everybody to go look inward and produce. And if you look at the revenue stream then, the North had the groundnut pyramid, had the textile, had the cotton, that was booming. In Kano then, the groundnut pyramid was like towers. In the West, we had the old West region had cocoa and the cocoa byproduct. In fact, the tallest building in Ibadan that still stands today was built by Obafemi Awolowo. We had free education in the West. About 430,000 people were on scholarship, fully paid scholarship. In the old West Eastern Nigeria, we had a very, very ebullient medical doctor, Michael Lobara, who became premier at 39. In 6 years, he built the fastest growing economy in the whole of the Commonwealth, 9.5% GDP growth, consistently. And he did over 214 kilometer industrial belts, agro-based. We had the coal that was coming from there. We had the palm oil and a lot of things. And it beggars believe that the governors are fixated at just getting the trickles from Niger Delta. If somebody says, okay, I want derivatives to be 50% or to attach more in population, population is actually an advantage for people who are very productive. Look at China, 1.4 billion people. See what they are doing. Look at India. In fact, Nigeria is the only hugely populated country that is not pulling its weight because of the fiscal regime. So the Tinubu regime, government, in the right, this tax policy is something I will advise the governors. They shouldn't stick on this derivative of 30%. They should move it all the hawk to 50%.
Do you think that perhaps, what you were, speaking to earlier in terms of the regional government that we had then and how productive every region was what the president was trying to do by putting derivation at 50%, where to force, the governors to go back to their state and think of IGR?
Exactly. I've heard this argument. People say, oh, Lagos is standing at advantage because Lagos has seaport, Lagos has a port, and Lagos has everything. And they cited the fact that there is a deep seaport coming up, another one coming up in Badagry. Now, I expect these governors, they have governors forum that is very, very powerful. I come from the Southeast. And the Southeast is one region. Remember that the old Eastern region was the fastest growing in the Commonwealth. And the whole things that made it there are still there. I was looking through the gas reserve of Nigeria. Nigeria has a gas reserve of over $1.4 trillion. Untapped. And most of this gas reserve sits in the southeast of Nigeria. Nigeria today has a coal reserve proven of over $302 billion. And most of these coal reserves are in the east and the Kogi axis. I expect the Governors Forum, Southeast Governors Forum, the National Assembly had amended the Constitution in such a way that things like rail is now on the concurrent list. If Akwa Ibom is doing deep sea port, Lagos is doing, what stopped the Southeast Governors Forum coming together